start with a confession, actually. If Instagram would have existed when I was in school, I would have been bullied so badly. Because I was that kid. I was a topper, front bench, I was a nerd. My hair oil, my homework always done. I would totally always snitch on my friends in that they were not up to date with their homework. Hair oiled, zero drip. And yet somehow, I ended up being the girl who met Rihanna, who practically is big to every fashion city in the world. I have walked a red carpet twice now, and I have built a career out of fashion. So I guess first things first, life has jokes. And that's what I want to talk about today. Not success, definitely not the same old passion story, but change. The kind that you don't plan, the kind you don't understand, and definitely not the kind that you announce on LinkedIn. So let's start with that. Let's start with where I grew up. I grew up in Delhi in a very orthodox academic household. And back then, things were very straightforward. You know, Delhi did degrees, Bombay did fashion. Fashion blogging was not a career. It was something you just liked quietly and then you grew out of. It was something you really just saved for the big screen. And I did my bachelor's in economics actually from Venki, South Campus. My best friend's here somewhere. She is from JMC. So I actually feel very at home here today. And like any nerd, I then went on to do my master's in economics very passionately. The plan was very simple, very solid. I do my PhD, I'll do my research, a very respectable life. I had plans to working in the WHO one day, or the World Bank. So everything in that moment made sense to me. That version of me made complete sense. And everyone approved of her. The most important thing was everyone around me, my parents, my teachers, my friends, everyone approved of her. But then, when I was doing my master's, I was exhausted. I was so exhausted, and I gradually realized that if I didn't have something going on the side as a creative outlet, then I really would not be able to survive this degree. And back then, when this thought came to me, Instagram had just started, I think, probably a year or two later is when this thought came to me. So at that time, there were no influencers, there's definitely no money, and there was no strategy. So I did something very radical, very unique. I asked my best friends from college, equal nerds, to actually click my photos. And they got terrible. They were so terrible. We fought all the time, but honestly, I couldn't blame them because I was basically exploiting them after class. So I guess the outfits I wore were just criminal. You should see actually never go back and see the content from back in the day, because when I look at my content now, from 10 years ago, I physically feel unwell. It was that bad. But the most important thing was I posted it anyway. And that was it. There was no ambition because I didn't have a dream to have an ambition. It was just one small decision, which was not to silence a part of myself, the part that is creative, the part that's craving a creative outlet so bad. And in all honesty, that decision didn't change my life overnight, I'll be honest. But it moved something. It moved. I think that was change number one. It started moving something. So 1 month now into posting my content on Instagram, there was the Swarovski contest that was happening, and I applied for it. Honestly, I had like 2 or 3 thousand followers, and I really didn't think much of it because the others who were participating with me were way more established than I was in that moment. It was a styling fashion contest. And I remember two of my jackass best friends in that moment saying, you know what, we're not going to stick around to watch this contest because let's be real, there is no ending here. You're not winning. We're just going to go grab coffee, roam around the mall. And I remember them coming back, one of them who's right here, shocked because I won. I had won that contest that took me to Paris to meet the creative director, global creative director for Swarovski. I dined with her. We shot for Swarovski's magazine. We shot the 2-page spread for Grazia India. I basically did a global campaign and I was a official Swarovski India ambassador for 6 months. That was kid 1 month into this now industry who had no idea what she was doing. And by the end of the year, I think I had about 20,000 followers. So for the first time in my life, in that moment, I felt something academics had never given me, in all honesty. And I think that was alignment. It was not validation. It was definitely not applause, not in that moment at least. It was alignment. But just think, with alignment, the moment you feel aligned, fear shows up. And that's what I want to talk to you about now. Everyone loves saying, follow your passion on stage like TEDx. I'm sure that's going to be a very recurring dialogue all of you would have heard or would be hearing. Follow your passion. But nobody talks about the very first year. The first year was tough. I earned nothing. Zero. I was a postgraduate in economics. My friends were earning because they'd started their jobs. And here I was with no money in my bank account. I think I was 24, 25 on that time. And I took a job that paid me, I still remember, 6,000 rupees for 3 days, but a crazy schedule. It was 7 a.m. call time. I wrapped up at 10 in the night for 3 days back to back. It was 2 hours away from where I was living, and there was nothing on set because it was such a low production. So I had no water, forget food, and I earned 6,000 rupees in 3 days. And I remember I came home and I just cried my eyeballs out so hard. And I was at that stage where I could not go to my parents and cry because I knew he'd say, we don't use so, like, who asked you to be an economics, not drop out, but like leave that career to do something which was so freelancing in nature. And obviously, when you doubt yourself, I thought, okay, I did not sit for placements. I did not apply for jobs. Was this the worst decision I could make? Like, have I been moving my life? I remember thinking that. And check on top of that, obviously, I was a college girl, so obviously I was going through a breakup. Why not? Because life is funny. It likes to test you in combo packs. So that it was, I guess, at my lowest, if you want to call it, or so I got. And that phase just broke me. Like, it really broke me. But I'll be honest, I did not just wake up, this is not a sharp part movie, I did not just wake up a day feeling brave and, oh my God, things are change for me. Honestly, I was exhausted. I was fully exhausted. And I remember thinking, okay, you know what, maybe I'll just give it one more year. Like, that's it. I give it one more year. And that year also did not turn out to be glamorous. There were no major big announcements, definitely no success story. It was just a lot of me saying yes to things when I didn't feel ready and just showing up when nobody was watching, nobody was clapping. And I guess quietly building something when there was absolutely no proof that it was going to ever work. And then, not suddenly and definitely not magically, but things started shifting very, very slowly. I remember people began noticing my work. Brands started trusting me a little more because now it's under a considerable time in the industry. So the lows that was experiencing honestly didn't disappear. I guess they just didn't scare me as much as they did when I started. And I guess one day something happened that completely just changed my understanding of what was possible with me in this career. I got a call. It was really out of nowhere. I got a call. I think I remember I'm stalking my ex on Instagram, and that moment I got a call from someone at Mintra. They liked my work. And at that time, Rihanna was just launching her first Fenty collection with Puma. And they said, Niki, we like your work and we want you to fly to New York to meet Rihanna for this Fenty X Puma launch. I swear I thought that was a spam call. But it was true. And I remember standing on Fifth Avenue, head to toe, dressed in Puma, of course. And I remember there were 3 bouncers who were just escorting me past hundreds of people who were standing in line to meet Rihanna. And they literally thought, who is this girl? And is she some celebrity? And I remember at that goal, but I was crossing those sea of people. I remember thinking to myself, was I just crying over 6,000 rupees a month ago? So that's when I honestly understood something. Change arrives, but it never arrives with clarity. Change always arrives with God trust. Looking back, if I think about it now, my life didn't change because of one big decision. It changed because of very small, imperfect choices that just kept flowing into each other naturally. Posting that one photo, or replying once, or say yes despite being scared. Not quitting when it was honestly humiliating. So I think that is what change really, really looks like in the real world. It is not a leap, it's a cascade, it flows. One honest decision will create the next for you, and that the next. And suddenly you're standing somewhere you never really even imagined. Like 10 years ago, if you would have told me that I would be here giving a TED talk, I would have called you delusional, honestly. And 10 years later, now here, at the risk of making this sound like an Oscar speech and blowing my own trumpet, I cannot believe where I am. I worked with hundreds of brands, 700 plus to be precise. I have been on magazine covers. I did my biggest one last year with Harper's Vietnam. It was a global magazine cover. I've done Cannes twice. I think I've won at least 7 Women Achievers Awards and I think around 4 or 5 Best Influencer Awards. And honestly, I make shit tons of money. Who'd have thought that? You know? But the best part that I am most proud of right now, honestly, is that I didn't freeze myself into a version that made sense to my parents, that made sense to society, that made sense to my friends back in the day. I'm just glad I became a version that made sense to me. And I guess I just want to say that you're sitting here feeling confused. That's a good thing. If life doesn't look linear, that's even better because you're not late and you're definitely not behind. You're becoming. And becoming is always messy. Becoming is uncomfortable and is never approved in the first go. So every small, brave choice that you make will definitely create a ripple effect that you cannot see just yet. So just trust the flow, definitely trust the scary change, and trust yourself because life really doesn't transform in one moment like a sharp pan cookie, but it cascades like a Niki Mehra cookie. So that's what I just want to say. Thank you.